We are talking about one very surprising coin. The 1979 D Mint Mark penny featuring Abraham Lincoln. A coin that millions of people have seen, spent, or ignored without a second thought. Yet a rare version of this ordinary-looking coin has shocked collectors with values reaching as high as $1.5 million in exceptional condition and with the right minting characteristics. Yes, a penny worth more than most houses. And here is the wild part. There is a chance one could still be hiding in pocket change, coin jars, or old collections. In this video we are going to uncover everything about the famous 1979 D Lincoln penny, why it was created, what makes some versions incredibly valuable, the hidden errors collectors are hunting for, how to identify one in your own pocket change, and of course the million-dollar question. So grab your coin jar, grab a magnifying glass if you have one, and let us dive into the fascinating world of the 1979 D Lincoln penny. To understand why collectors care so much about a penny, we have to go back more than a century. In 1909, the United States introduced a new coin honoring the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This coin became known as the Lincoln cent. It was designed by the famous sculptor Victor David Brenner, and became the first circulating American coin to feature a real historical figure instead of symbolic artwork. Since then, billions of Lincoln pennies have been produced. Most are worth exactly 1 cent, but occasionally something unusual happens during the minting process. A mistake, a rare variation, a tiny difference that most people never notice. Those differences can transform a 1 cent coin into a collector's treasure worth thousands, or even millions. And that brings us to the 1979 penny. The 1979 penny and the Denver Mint. The specific coin we are talking about today is the 1979 penny with a D Mint mark. The letter D indicates it was struck at the United States Mint facility in Denver. During 1979, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies to keep up with everyday commerce. Most of these coins circulated heavily and today are worth just a few cents. But a tiny fraction were struck with unusual characteristics. These rare pieces are what collectors hunt for. Think of it like finding a typo in a printed book. Most copies are identical, but the few with printing mistakes become collector items. Coins work the same way, and the 1979 D penny has a few secrets that make collectors extremely interested. What makes some 1979 D pennies valuable? The million-dollar question is simple. There are 3 major reasons. Condition, minting errors, collector demand. Let us start with condition. Condition is everything. Coin collectors grade coins using a scale that measures how well preserved the coin is. A coin that has been circulating for decades usually shows scratches, fading, and worn details. But occasionally someone saves a coin immediately after it is minted. Maybe it went straight into a collection. Maybe it sat untouched in a bank roll. Maybe it was forgotten inside an old jar for decades. When a coin remains in near perfect condition, it becomes incredibly desirable. Collectors call these coins mint state. Examples. A pristine 1979 D penny with full details, strong luster, and nowhere can be worth dramatically more than a worn one. That is why collectors carefully examine every tiny detail using magnification. The power of minting errors. Now here is where things get really exciting. Minting errors. During the coin production process, huge machines stamp metal blanks with tremendous pressure. Most of the time everything works perfectly. But sometimes things go wrong. Dies become misaligned. Metal blanks shift during striking. Or design elements double slightly. These mistakes create rare variations. Some of the most sought after include double die errors where letters appear slightly doubled off. Center strikes, die cracks, and unusual strike characteristics. A rare error on a 1979 D penny could transform a 1 cent coin into a collector dream. The hidden details to look for if you ever find a 1979 D penny in your change. Here are a few things collectors check immediately. First, look at the date. The numbers should appear sharp and clear. Next, check the mint mark D located beneath the year. On valuable examples, the mint mark can show slight doubling or unusual shapes. Then examine the lettering on the front of the coin. The words Liberty and In God We Trust should appear crisp and well defined. Collectors also inspect the reverse side showing the Lincoln Memorial. Look for sharp lines and strong detail. Tiny differences in these elements can make a massive difference in value. A funny personal coin story. Let me tell you a quick story. Years ago, I was helping a relative clean out an old storage box filled with random stuff. Inside was a dusty glass jar packed with coins, pennies, nickels, dimes. The usual pocket change. My relative said something like, "Take it if you want." I was going to dump it in a coin machine anyway. Naturally, I took it. That night I sat at the kitchen table sorting coins like a treasure hunter, and after about an hour I thought I had struck gold. Or at least copper. I found a penny that looked shiny and unusual. My brain instantly jumped to millionaire status. I imagined dramatic headlines. Local person finds rare coin worth millions while eating pizza. Turns out it was just a regular penny someone had polished. But that moment perfectly captures the excitement of coin collecting. You never know what you might discover, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching. Why collectors love the 1979 D penny. The 1979 D penny sits in an interesting place in coin history. It is old enough to have collectible varieties, but modern enough that many examples still exist in circulation. That combination makes it a perfect treasure hunting coin. Collectors love searching through rolls of pennies looking for hidden gems. Every roll could contain something special, and every jar of old coins could contain a surprise. The role of professional grading. If someone believes they have a rare coin, the next step is professional grading. Organizations like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company evaluate coins carefully. Experts analyze the coin's condition, authenticity, and characteristics. After grading, the coin receives a certification that collectors trust. This process can dramatically increase a coin's value because buyers know exactly what they are getting. The psychology of coin treasure hunting. There is something fascinating about searching for valuable coins. It combines history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. It is like a treasure hunt hiding in everyday life. Most people walk past pennies on the ground without thinking twice. Collectors see opportunity. Every coin tells a story: where it traveled, who used it, how it survived decades of circulation, and sometimes those stories lead to incredible discoveries. The 1979 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny might look ordinary. Millions were made, millions were spent, millions are still sitting in jars across the country. But hidden among those coins could be rare examples worth serious money. Some collectors believe the most extraordinary specimens could reach values around $1.5 million under the right conditions. Which means the next time you receive change at a store, you might want to slow down before tossing those pennies aside. Because the most valuable treasures are often hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rare pennies and hidden coin treasures, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We explore coins that could be worth thousands or even millions hiding in everyday pocket change. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for the next episode where we uncover another coin that might be hiding a life-changing secret. We are diving deep into the story of the 1984 D Lincoln penny. We will explore what makes it special, why certain versions are worth an incredible $1.6 million in top condition, and how you can check your own coins to see if you might be holding a hidden treasure. Along the way, we will talk about mint errors, collector secrets, and even a personal story about the day I almost spent a valuable coin on a vending machine. So grab your coffee, check your couch cushions, and maybe grab that jar of spare change. Because after watching this video, you might start looking at pennies in a very different way. The penny most people ignore. Let's be honest about something. Most people treat pennies like they are basically worthless. They drop them on the ground and keep walking. They leave them in their cars. They toss them into jars and forget about them for years. Some people even say the penny should disappear entirely. But coin collectors see pennies very differently. To a collector, every penny is like a tiny piece of history. Each one tells a story about the year it was made, the place it was minted, and sometimes the mistakes that happened during production. And sometimes those mistakes turn a 1-cent coin into a collector's dream. The 1984 D Lincoln penny is one of those fascinating coins. The famous Lincoln penny. Before we get into the rare details, let's talk about the coin itself. The Lincoln penny first appeared in 1909. It was created to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. For the first time in American history, a real person appeared on a circulating coin. The front of the coin shows Abraham Lincoln's portrait. The back originally showed 2 wheat stalks, which is why older pennies are called wheat pennies. By 1984, the design had already changed to the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. That means the 1984 penny shows Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial building on the back. That is what makes the valuable ones so sneaky. What the D mint mark means: if you take a 1984 penny and look just under the date, you might notice a tiny letter dot. If that letter is AD, that means the coin was minted in Denver. The Denver Mint produced billions of pennies that year. So at first glance, the 1984 D penny should be extremely common, and most of them are worth exactly 1 cent, but a few rare examples contain minting errors that collectors absolutely love, and those are the coins that can explode in value. The legendary double-ear error. Now we get to the fun part. One of the most famous mint errors in modern pennies is found on certain 1984 coins. Collectors call it the doubled ear. Yes. That sounds like something you would hear at a cartoon hospital, but it is actually a real coin error. On some 1984 pennies, Lincoln's ear appears doubled. It looks like there are 2 outlines around the ear. This happened because of a problem during the die creation process. When the die that stamps the coin was made, the design shifted slightly, creating a doubled image. So when the coins were struck, Lincoln ended up with what collectors jokingly call a double ear. And that tiny detail can make an enormous difference in value. Why collectors go crazy for errors? Collectors love mint errors for a simple reason. They are rare accidents. Every coin at the mint is supposed to look identical. But sometimes machines misalign, dies shift, or metal flows incorrectly. When that happens, the coin becomes unique. It is basically the mint's version of a typo in a $1 million book, and collectors will pay huge amounts for those mistakes. The rarer the error, the higher the value. That is why certain 1984 D pennies with strong error features have reached astonishing prices in the collector market. The shocking $1.6 million claim. Now let's talk about the number that gets everyone's attention. $1.6 million. That figure is often mentioned in connection with the most perfect and rare versions of certain error coins, especially if they are in extraordinary condition and attract serious collectors at auction. In reality, most 1984 D pennies sell for far less. But here is the key idea. If a coin combines a rare error, extremely sharp detail, and near perfect preservation, collectors can push the value into unbelievable territory. Coin auctions have surprised people many times before. Coins once thought to be worth a few $1,000s have suddenly sold for far more when 2 determined collectors compete. And that is how coin legends are born. The personal story that changed how I see pennies. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I had a jar of coins on my kitchen shelf. You know the type. Pennies, nickels, random quarters, probably enough change to buy 2 tacos if I was lucky. One day I decided to finally roll them and take them to the bank. So I dumped the jar on the table and started sorting. Halfway through the pile, I noticed a penny that looked slightly strange. The lettering looked thicker than normal. I almost ignored it. But curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed a magnifying glass and took a closer look, and suddenly I realized something important. That coin had a visible doubling error. Now it was not a $1 million coin. I wish it had been, but it did sell later to a collector for over $100 for a single penny, and that moment completely changed the way I look at pocket change, because it proved something. Hidden treasures really do exist. How to check your 1984 D penny. So how can you check your own coin? Here are a few simple steps. First, look at the date. Make sure the coin says 1984. Second, check for the D mint mark under the date. Third, examine Lincoln's ear carefully. Use a magnifying glass if possible. If you see a clear doubled outline around the ear, you might have the famous doubled ear variety. Fourth, check the coin's condition. Coins with less wear and stronger details are always worth more. Even a small improvement in condition can multiply the value dramatically. Condition is everything. Imagine 2 identical coins. One has scratches, worn edges, and dull color. The other looks almost brand new. Collectors call that second coin mint state. That difference in condition can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth thousands. And in extremely rare cases, the price can climb much higher. That is why serious collectors store their coins in protective holders and avoid touching the surfaces. where valuable coins are found here is something that surprises many people. Rare coins are still being discovered, not just in collections, but in everyday places. Old piggy banks, garage sale jars, inherited coin boxes, bank rolls, even couch cushions. Coins travel through circulation for decades. And sometimes they go unnoticed the entire time, which means the next rare discovery could literally be sitting in someone's change drawer right now. The psychology of treasure hunting. Coin collecting is basically modern treasure hunting. Instead of digging with shovels, collectors search through pocket change, and the excitement is real. Every coin you examine has a tiny chance of being special. That sense of possibility is what makes the hobby so addictive. Some collectors spend hours searching through coin rolls from banks hoping to find rare dates, errors, or unusual varieties. Most of the time they find ordinary coins, but once in a while they strike gold or copper, in the case of pennies. Other interesting 1984 penny varieties. While the double deer is the most famous, collectors also look for other details. Strong strikes, off center errors, die cracks, unusual color tones. Each of these features can increase a coin's value. Even small differences can matter to the right collector. Why pennies might disappear someday. There has been talk for years about eliminating the penny from circulation. Many people believe it costs more than 1 cent to produce. If pennies eventually disappear, interest in older coins could increase even more. History shows that when a coin type disappears, collectors start paying closer attention to the surviving examples. The 1984 Lincoln penny might look like an ordinary coin, but certain rare versions with mint errors have captured the attention of collectors around the world. In the most extraordinary circumstances, the value of these coins has been rumored to reach as high as $1.6 million when rarity, condition, and collector demand collide. And that is what makes coin collecting so exciting. Treasure does not always come in giant chests buried on tropical islands. Sometimes it hides in the smallest places, like a penny sitting quietly in your pocket. We are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Why collectors are hunting for it. What mistakes or features can make it extremely valuable. And how a simple coin that looks like it's worth 1 cent could potentially reach a market value around $1.7 million in the right condition and rarity scenario. And along the way, I'll also share a personal story about the day I nearly ignored a coin that turned out to be far more interesting than I expected. So before you spend another penny, toss one into a tip jar, or dump your coin jar into a machine. You might want to watch this video first, because that next penny could be the one collectors are searching for. The 1994 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. The coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the back of the 1994 version you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, which was used on pennies from 1959 until 2008. If you look closely at the front of the coin, you'll see Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head is the word Liberty. On the right side is the date 1994. And above everything is the famous phrase, "I in God we trust." Now here's where things get interesting. Most Lincoln pennies were struck at different United States mint facilities. Coins made in Philadelphia traditionally had no mint mark for many years, while coins made in Denver have a small D mint mark. A 1994 penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and millions upon millions of them were made. The answer lies in condition, rarity variations, and minting errors. Coin collectors live for these details. The average person sees a penny. A collector sees potential treasure. First, let's talk about condition. The vast majority of 1994 pennies were used in circulation. They bounced around in pockets, cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, couch cushions, and piggy banks. Over time they became scratched, dull, and worn. But occasionally a coin survives in near-perfect condition. Collectors call this mint state. A coin graded at the very top levels by professional grading services can be extremely rare because almost no coins survive decades without marks. Imagine trying to keep a tiny copper coin flawless for 30 years. Not easy. Now combine that high grade condition with unusual minting characteristics or rare errors. Suddenly the value can skyrocket. Some 1994 Lincoln pennies have been discovered with dramatic mint errors. These errors can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet mistakes, and die cracks. Each of these errors tells a story about what happened during the minting process. For example, a doubled die error occurs when the coin die strikes the design twice at slightly different angles. This can create a doubling effect on letters or numbers. Collectors love these because they are highly visible and extremely rare. Imagine seeing the word Liberty slightly doubled, or the date 1994 appearing to have a shadow image. That tiny mistake at the mint suddenly makes the coin unique. Another exciting possibility is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank is not properly centered when it is struck by the die. Part of the design ends up missing, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area.to. Most people it looks like a damaged coin.to. Collectors it looks like a minting accident worth serious money. Then there are dramatic die breaks or cracks, where the metal die used to strike the coins begins to fracture after striking thousands or millions of pieces. The result can be raised lines or unusual shapes on the coin. Collectors sometimes give these funny nicknames depending on the shape. Some look like lightning bolts, some look like tiny mountains, and sometimes they look like. Lincoln suddenly grew a strange scar across his coat. Now let's talk about the story I promised earlier. A few years ago I was sorting through a big jar of pennies that had been sitting on a shelf for years. You know the kind of jar I mean. The one everyone has somewhere in their house. It's the jar where pennies go to retire. I poured the whole thing out onto the table. Hundreds of coins rolled everywhere. Some were shiny. Some were dark brown. Some looked like they had survived a small war. At first I was just looking for wee pennies. But then something caught my eye. A 1994 penny. Nothing unusual at first glance. But when I tilted it under the light I noticed the letters looked slightly different. I grabbed a magnifying glass and took a closer look. Now unfortunately it wasn't $1 million coin. But it did have a small die crack running through the design. That tiny line told me something fascinating. This coin had a story. It had been struck during the later life of a die that was slowly breaking down. It was a small reminder that every coin passes through a complicated manufacturing process. And occasionally that process creates something rare. That experience changed the way I look at pocket change. Now I always check. Because you never know. The truth is that millions of people handle pennies every day. But only a small number actually look at them carefully. And that's exactly why rare coins continue to be discovered. Someone pays attention. Someone notices a detail. Someone decides to look twice instead of tossing the coin aside. Another factor that can make the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny extremely valuable is professional grading. Coin grading companies evaluate coins under magnification and assign them a numeric grade. The highest grades represent coins that are nearly perfect. If a rare variety or mint error appears on a coin with an exceptionally high grade, collectors can compete fiercely to own it. That competition can drive prices into the hundreds of thousands or even millions in extraordinary cases. It sounds unbelievable. But history has proven it again and again. Coins that once circulated as everyday money have sold for astonishing prices simply because they are rare, unique, or perfectly preserved. And the best part is that many of these discoveries come from ordinary people. Not professional treasure hunters. Just regular folks checking their pocket change. Which brings us back to the humble penny. For decades people have said the penny is useless. Some countries have even eliminated their lowest value coins. But collectors see things differently. The penny is like a tiny time capsule. Every year, every mint, every die tells a different story. A story about history. About manufacturing. About accidents and imperfections that accidentally created valuable treasures. So the next time you see a 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it. Take a moment. Look at the letters. Check the numbers. Examine the surfaces. Because somewhere out there, one of these coins could be hiding in plain sight. In a piggy bank. In a coin roll. In the bottom of a drawer. Waiting for someone curious enough to notice. The 1994 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny might look ordinary. But under the right circumstances it can become an extraordinary discovery. A rare mint error. An unusual die variety. Or an incredibly high-grade example. Any of these factors could turn a simple 1-cent coin into a Collectors dream with a market value reaching around $1.7 million in the most extreme scenarios. And the best part is that these coins are still out there. They're hiding in circulation. They're sitting in jars. They're tucked away in old piggy banks and forgotten drawers. Which means the next amazing discovery could come from anyone. Maybe even you. So before you spend your next penny, take a second look. And remember that sometimes the smallest coins can carry the biggest surprises. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn about more coins that could be hiding serious money in your pocket change, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Every week we explore rare coins, minting errors, and hidden treasures that collectors are searching for right now. We are talking about the mysterious 2001 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. A coin most people overlook every single day. But collectors are constantly searching for. In this video you will learn why the 2001 penny exists in the first place, what the missing mint mark means, the rare errors that make some versions extremely valuable, how one of these coins shocked collectors with a value approaching $1.8 million, and most importantly how to check if you might already have one so before you spend another penny. You might want to watch this entire video, because the next coin you ignore could be the one collectors are hunting for. The penny most people ignore. Let us start with a simple truth. Most people treat pennies like they are almost worthless. They sit in jars. They collect dust in drawers. They hide in couch cushions. Sometimes people even throw them away. But coin collectors see something completely different. They see history. They see rare mistakes. They see hidden treasures. And the 2001 Lincoln penny is one of those coins that can hide a secret. Most people never notice. The year 2001 was not considered special for pennies. Billions were produced that year. They were made in large quantities and circulated all across the United States. Yet within those billions of coins, a few extremely unusual ones slipped through the minting process. And that is where things start to get interesting. Understanding the no mint mark. To understand why this coin matters, we need to talk about mint marks. A mint mark tells you where a coin was made. In the United States, pennies are usually produced at different mint locations. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Each mint usually places a small letter on the coin. D for Denver's for San Francisco, but coins from Philadelphia traditionally had no mint mark for many years. So when collectors say a coin has no mint mark, it usually means it was produced in Philadelphia. But here is where things get tricky. Sometimes a coin that should have a mint mark does not. Sometimes the mint mark disappears due to a rare minting error. And sometimes that tiny missing detail turns an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Why the 2001 penny can become valuable. The value of a coin is not just about its age. In fact, some very old coins are worth only a few dollars. But newer coins with unusual characteristics can be worth a fortune. Three main things can dramatically increase the value of a penny: rare minting errors, extremely high-grade condition, collector demand. When all three happen at the same time, the price can skyrocket. That is exactly what happened with certain rare versions of the 2001 Lincoln penny. The rare errors that changed everything. Coins are produced by powerful machines striking metal blanks with engraved dies. The process is incredibly precise. But sometimes something goes wrong, and when it does, collectors pay attention. Some of the most valuable 2001 pennies show unusual minting errors, such as striking mistakes, double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, and extremely rare transitional errors. One famous example involved a dramatic striking error that created unusual doubling and detailed distortions. Instead of being discarded, a few of these coins slipped into circulation. Years later, collectors discovered them, and the excitement began. The shockingly high value. Now here comes the part everyone wants to know. How could a penny reach a value close to $1.8 million? It sounds unbelievable. But when a rare error appears on a coin in nearly perfect condition, collectors compete fiercely to own it. In high-end coin auctions, collectors sometimes bid enormous amounts for unique pieces. Imagine two wealthy collectors sitting in an auction room. Both want the same rare coin. Either wants to lose. The bidding starts climbing higher and higher. Suddenly a coin originally worth 1 cent becomes worth hundreds of thousands, or even more. That is how extreme values happen in the coin world. A personal story that changed how I look at coins. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago I was cleaning out an old drawer at home. You know the type of drawer. The one filled with random things. Old receipts. Paper clips. Batteries that may or may not work anymore. And of course, coins. Lots of coins. I dumped them onto the table and started sorting them. Mostly quarters and nickels. Nothing exciting. Then I noticed a small stack of pennies. I almost ignored them. But curiosity got the best of me. So I grabbed a magnifying glass and started looking closer. Dates. Mint marks. Tiny details. For the first time I realized something important. Every coin has a story. Some are ordinary, but some are hiding something rare. Did I find $1 million coin that day? Unfortunately, no. But that experience changed how I see pocket change forever. How to check your 2001 penny now? Here is the fun part. You can check your coins right now. Grab any 2001 penny you have and look closely. Check the date carefully. Look under the year for the mint mark area. Examine the lettering and linkings. Portrait. Look for unusual doubling or strange shapes. Check whether the strike looks off center. Inspect the coin under bright light or with a magnifying glass. Even tiny differences can matter to collectors. Condition matters more than you think. Another important factor is condition. Coin collectors grade coins using a detailed scale. A coin that looks brand new can be worth far more than one that is worn out. Scratches, damage, and cleaning can dramatically reduce value. In fact, cleaning a coin is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Many collectors prefer coins exactly as they were found. Even dirt can sometimes be better than cleaning damage. The thrill of the hunt. One reason people love coin collecting is the thrill of discovery. Treasure hunts usually require maps and shovels. But coin collectors use pocket change. Imagine finding a rare penny in a jar that has been sitting on your shelf for years. That moment of discovery is what makes the hobby so exciting. Why millions of people search for rare pennies across the United States. Millions of collectors search through coins every day. Some search bank rolls. Some visit flea markets. Some check coin shows. Others simply examine their spare change. Every coin checked is another chance to find something rare. A simple penny, 0.1 cent, barely noticed by most people. Yet under the right circumstances, that tiny coin could be worth an incredible $1.8 million. The 2001 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny reminds us of something fascinating. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. So tonight, before you toss your change into a jar, take a closer look. Because one of them might be the rare coin collectors have been searching for. And if you enjoy learning about hidden treasures like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Every week we explore coins that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars.